Welcome back, everybody. I got a new video here. This came from during a conversation we're having, me and my friend Joseph, and it had to do with breeding pit bulls. Now, I've been on a lot of chats and even in my own channel here talking about breeding, talking about the quality of pit bulls. Has the quality increased? Has it decreased? And I've said this before, I'll say it again. The pit bull with individual breeders, with individual dogman, has gotten better, is going to continue to evolve and get better. But overall, because there's so many pit bulls being bred, and now they're worldwide in almost every country on the face of the earth, uh, the quality is going to go down. Because not a lot of people are breeders, not a lot of people have breeding standards and ethics, and but they breed dogs. You know, pit bull is one of the most bred domestic canine there is on the face of the earth. They're very popular. People want them for a variety of reasons, and along with that, they're most interested in the pedigree more than they are the individual dog. That's how breeders sell their dogs for the most part. And one thing I've been mentioning in different uh, venues is, how do you market pit bulls today? In today's society where dog fighting is illegal, but we have legal sports, we have legal hunting, legal conformation shows, a lot of things you can do with a pit bull. And if you're breeding dogs and you're selling them, how do you market them? At the very least, let's hypothetically, if I had dogs today, and I wouldn't be doing anything illegal with them, but if I did, if I was selling you a pup, this is how I would do it. I'm sending you a pup that's healthy, dewormed, deloused, had its first, second, third shots, depending on the age of the pup. It has a good immune system. It's structurally sound, no skin problems, no internal organ problems, no health problems. And it's going to have, it's going to be a pup. So I wouldn't make any more claims other than that, except I could give you a background on the ancestry of the individual, the parents, grandparents, going back. If it was my blood, I'd be going back 38 years. And I could give you the information of those individual dogs in the dog's pedigree. Because the dog makes the pedigree doesn't make the dog. Pedigree doesn't make the dog. That's an old saying. If it was an adult dog, it'd be the same criteria, except as an adult dog, I could give you the individual dog's his behavior, his temperament, his work ethic, his prey drive, his killing instinct, if I used them for hunting, something like that, which that's probably what I would do if I had dogs today. I'd use them for that, and maybe get involved in the legal sports, maybe weight pulling or whatever. So whatever titles they had, treadmill race or wall climb or something like that, I'd give that background on them too, and but as an adult dog, which is different from a pup, I could give you that criteria that it retains, and individual traits of the dogs, and again the ancestry of the dog. So I don't see that happening. All I see is the same cliche statements and words and all that. Game bred pup. This pup's on fire. This dog's a good producer. This a successful breeding and all that. Very little people, at least online, question any of that. What makes it a game bred pup? What makes it a producer? What is a dog produced? What makes it you say that this litter is fire? or game bred, or all this stuff. I'm repeating myself, but you know, everybody has heard those, right? Those are catchwords. Those are, you know, if they pertain to the individual, if the phrases are pertinent to the individual and the family of dogs, then I can see them being used. But if you don't have the information to back up those statements, then it's just a selling ploy. It's just a marketing tool. So, you know, I would look to market something honestly, you know, and give whatever information you can without all the illegal stuff, you know. That has no bearing in today's times, you know, unless you're in a foreign country or something like that, or where it's legal or whatever, you know. Then those questions could be asked, you know. And so because there's so many uh, dogs being bred, because there's so many pit bulls being produced, and sometimes they're being produced by people who have had pit bulls for many years, people that are known as breeders, and all the way down to people that make breedings every once in a while, and people just starting and it's their first breeding, or they just breed pit bulls on paper and put them together, or they just have two pit bulls that they want to breed and see what happens and make those dogs available to the public. But here's the issue that came up, you know, and I think it's valid, is people look at the time and the effort and the work and the housing and the food and the medicine and the vaccinations and all this stuff that they've put into these individuals to get them to the age to make a breeding, right? So they want to recoup some of their losses. Now, I understand the thought process behind it, even though I don't agree with it in that sense that you should be looking to recoup your losses or be treated as a business. Because if you're going to look at it that way, and some people do, if you're going to treat it as a business and you're going to look at it as a business endeavor, then what are your business practices? What quality of product are you putting out? Because, you know, if you pay attention, you see there's a lot of bad quality individuals that they put out. You have bad structure. You have cowhawks way back, bow leg, weak teeth, thin skin. That one comes up. Structural problems, skin problems, digestive problems, hip problems. A lot of these dogs that are putting out have one or two or more major flaws in them, and people will still sell them, and people will still buy them, right? So if you're going to look at it like that, wouldn't you want to put out a good product? I would. I want to be proud of what I put out. I want to have return customers. I want to have a good reputation. I want to have some integrity and honesty, including how the dog is bred. The pedigree of the dog should be true. All these factors are involved. So you can't just say, I need to recoup my losses and I'm treating this as a business without having some business ethics and without doing some underhanded BS that a lot of people will do to recoup them losses, right? Then the question comes up, well, why do they do that? How can they get away with it? And this is the point that Joseph made. And basically he said, you know, they can sell their dogs that have these problems or a potential to have these problems because they know most people aren't going to do anything with them anyways. You know, they understand that. People are jaded, you know, another term he used. And in their mind, they think, why should I have all these standards? Or why do I need all these standards if I'm going to sell them to people that aren't going to do anything with them anyways? They're just a pet to them, or they just want to have a pit bull. And even if they're irresponsible owners, which a lot of them are, that's why we see all these accidents happening and all this media coverage of mostly non-pit bulls. They're not pit bulls that are biting and killing people and all that, but they have that nomenclature because it may have some pit bull in it, or it may look like a pit bull, or it's a quote unquote that bully breed or something, whatever, that people use that term pit bull because in their mind they're all the same, which they aren't. And why do they have to have quality animals if they're just going to sit on the couch? I don't agree with it. Joseph doesn't agree with it, but it's a valid point because that may be the way that some people think. What does it matter what kind of product I'm putting out, as long as when I maintain these dogs and breed these dogs and keep these dogs, that I can use the sales from them to afford to keep them and maintain them, knowing that most of the people that I sell my dogs to, the general public, aren't going to do anything with them. Not even the legal stuff. They're not going to hunt. They're not going to conformation show them. They're not going to do the weight pull. They're not going to become catch dogs. They're not going to do the wall climb or the French lure course or the treadmill race. None of that. And I think that's the way some people think, because that's true. Most people aren't going to do none of that stuff. And if they do happen to get an individual that has some physical or mental or mostly physical ailment or problem, because people love their dog so much, and because now in their minds they've become part of the family, they're going to put the money in to take it to the vet, to try and have it corrected, spend a lot of money trying to clear up this skin problem they have, and whatever operation is needed, and whatever allergies that the dog has, right? And because of that, overall, it's brought the quality of the pit bull down. And except in those cases where I said people do have standards and they do breed healthy dogs that are tough and durable and all that, that's always going to happen. But overall, people are not even concerned with that. They're just concerned in getting a pit bull. And the breeder / seller is just concerned in recouping his losses or selling dogs to help pay for their upkeep. So that's why, those are the reasons behind, or at least one of the reasons behind, why we see all these dogs all over the internet, online, with major flaws, major faults. Because they're just a pet. And the people are not going to do anything with them anyways. That keeps coming back to that, So what? It's just a dog. That's happened with almost every breed that has ever been produced. German Shepherd, old English Bulldogs, Bull Terriers, Corgis, even, Hound Dogs and this and that. And in some of the working breeds, like the Rat Terriers or the Hound Dogs or Mals, protection dogs or whatever, the standards have been kept up, and those dogs still do the work or do the sporting function that it was bred for. But again, in most cases, they haven't. That's why you see those breed standards change, the build change, the health being reduced, You see the Bull Terriers doing them circles because they messed up their head so much they're crazy, Old English Bulldogs can't breed naturally, they need to have C-sections and all this to have their pups, You have German Shepherds, notably, most notable having hip dysplasia because they changed the structure of the dog, the breed. That's what I see happening with pit bulls today, a lot of them. And they have excellent papers, People ask, they'll mention it, my dog's bred very well. Well, just about every pit bull is bred very well. Every pit bull has an excellent pedigree. as far as what's written down on paper. And the techniques that were used, the methods that were used, whether it's outcrossing, inbreeding, line breeding, loose and tight, and three-way crosses, and 75-25% or 66-33%, or 50-50, whatever it is, father daughter, mother son, aunt, nephew, and uncle niece, grandfather, half brother, half sister. All these breeding techniques are in a plethora of pedigrees. So on paper they look great. There's nothing wrong with the breeding techniques that are involved in that pedigree. It's the individuals in the pedigree is where the downfall is happening, right? The standard of health and good immune system and good structure, good temperament and behavior and intelligence and good air and prey drive and good work ethic, and it's repetitive. Those are what's being lost. And when you do that, you do have a downfall of the breed. I had a post in my group about that, and a lot of different comments were made, and I probably mentioned this before. I'm getting old, so I forget, so sometimes I'm repetitive, right? And people gave different reasons. My reasons were just the ones I mentioned, the health and constitution and durability that's been lost, thin skin, weak teeth, right? Because, again, going to this particular topic, because the breeders understand that people aren't going to do anything with them anyway. They just want a pit bull. So they're going to sell as many of them as they can to recoup losses, to make money. That's what a business proposition should do, is make money. So they're going to do it however they can. And the breed itself is going to suffer. Now, because I've seen people making their first breeding or their 10th breeding, and they sell all the pups. Or they might keep 1 or 2 out of the litter and sell 6 or 8 of them. To me, what's the point of doing the breeding if you're not going to keep all of them or most of them? Well, the point is they want to make money off of them. That's what they're trying to do. You can't have a family of dogs doing it that way. You can't have a breeding program that is successful to you if you do it that way. That's why a lot of people didn't do it that way. They kept most of their dogs. Not that they didn't sell some or cut. There isn't a dog breeder, fighter, competitor, fancier in the past that at some point didn't sell a dog. But for the most part, they didn't sell a lot of them, and they kept most of them for themselves, for their own use. And a lot of them gave them away to friends or, people that they trusted, or they farm them out, or they still have some control over them, right? Because they want to keep them as part of their breeding program, but they don't have enough room to keep all the dogs, so they find trusted friends. All that can go south. There's been problems with all of that. But there's also been successes with it. And sometimes you farm dogs out in case something happens with your dog, whether it's disease or whatever, and you lose your dogs or lose a bunch of them. You still have your blood in someone else's yard to help you recoup your losses. And you can still keep your family of dogs going and your breeding program growing because you didn't put all your eggs in one basket, right? That's common too. That was common in the past, and I would guess it's common today. But again, for me, if I looked at it that way, wanting to be successful and wanting to put a product out, I would still hold the same standards that I did in the past. Health and vitality and all that good stuff should be at the forefront of my breeding program. And because what happens when you do it that way, you have a good reputation as a good breeder. You have a good reputation of selling a product that is consistent and top of the line, and you have integrity and honesty, and you're not faking pets, and that gets around and people acknowledge it. And when you do that, you know, this is something I've said before too. If you have that kind of program and you do sell dogs and the public knows you sell dogs, right? You don't even have to advertise. There's going to be people coming to you, just looking for you just by word of mouth, or them hearing testimony from others, or networking with others. I got this good dog from Schoolboy or whoever it was. Schoolboy puts out this kind of dog and blah, 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 and all that stuff. You wouldn't even have to advertise. Like I said, they'd come search you out because the previous product that you put out was good. So there's going to be people that want more. And even if it was just a regular layman, just the general public, they would much rather have a pet, whether it's a pit bull or anything else, that's healthy, doesn't have any mental and physical and temperamental problems, that they can have around their kids. They can make it a family dog, as long as they understand what the pit bull is and what the mishaps that can happen if you don't keep them separated, if you don't keep control and have them confined. Don't let them run loose in public, and don't let them around other dogs because they might kill somebody's pet. As long as you understand that and you convey that to the people that you're selling your dogs to, at least it limits your responsibility after the dog has left your yard. If you tell them that, if you explain them that, if you explain that to them, if you educate them. It's just that a lot of people won't do that because they want to sell their dogs. So they're not going to say anything bad, Even to this day, if it was my blood, my family, this and that, I'm going to tell you all the good stuff. I'm going to tell you the flaws. I'm going to tell you that sometimes they can be shy. Some of them will be destructive. So you have to redirect, you have to get them out of that shyness if you can. And it's possible with most of them. I never had one that I couldn't do that. And it was just a matter of keeping them around my kids and let my kids mess with them and brought any shyness they had out of them, And we've even done that with dogs pups we've gotten from friends, One of them he would crawl on the ground. He wouldn't even stand up and walk. He was so timid and so shy. 6 months later, he's riding around in the pickup, and the kids are playing with him. And he walked loose in the house, and Angie's telling him do this and do that. And he wouldn't eat out of the garbage, or he wouldn't eat off your plate if you left it on the table, or the coffee table in front of the TV. He was an intelligent dog. But that's what you can do, So if I was doing that, I would tell you whatever negatives they were. They have high prey drive. Be careful with them around other animals. If you have more than one, keep them separated. They're going to be good with your kids. You don't have to worry about them. But they still need training and discipline. Make sure you don't let them get out of hand, because if you let them take advantage of a situation, then it's going to be hard to break them of that situation. My dogs were tough. Discipline did not affect them negatively in any way. They still did what they did, even if we had to be a little hard on them, right? So that's part of the responsibility of the breeder, to convey that to the person that they're selling the dogs to. But again, if you're just selling dogs and you need to recoup your losses, or you look at it like a business and you don't have any integrity, then these people that are getting your dogs, they may accept all them failures and all them negatives, but they're not going to get another dog from you. The word's going to get around that you don't put out a healthy product, that you're putting out, you let man biters out of your yard, or whatever negative, structure, skin problems. A skin problem, especially, or an allergy, it can just pop up, right? But it has to have some basis from something. And if you're breeding dogs that have those ailments, over time, now it's going to become part of your family of dogs' DNA. It's going to be inherent in them. They're going to have a propensity for throwing allergic dogs or dogs with skin problems because you didn't weed them out. And at some point, you're going to have trouble cutting your dogs loose, which, I may be right, I may be wrong, but that may be one of the reasons or one factor of why people are having trouble selling their dogs. It could be the price. People may look at it, why is it so cheap? It must not be any good. Why is it so expensive? It's not worth that price. But it could be because previously you let all these flaws out and people, I don't care what it costs. I'm not going to get a dog from you. You put out junk. You put out unhealthy dogs. And I've heard it from, in my own situation. This is the person talking to the breeder. They had a dog with those flaws, with those skin problems, and other people that got dogs from you got the same thing. That guy's known for putting dogs out that have allergies. It's something as simple as that. The breeding, the pit bull itself, everything involved in it, whatever you do with them, whatever reason you breed them for, whoever you sell them to, is long term. And within that, you have to be consistent putting out a good product. Whether you sell a dog or you give a dog away, even if you give a dog to your friend, if it's junk and you knew it was junk and you gave it to your friend anyways, he's going to know that. And he's not going to want another dog from you, even if it's free. I'm not making this stuff up. This stuff has been happening for a long time now. That's why a lot of people complain, I wouldn't guarantee anything of a dog that I sold. Nothing except that it's healthy, it's bred the way the pedigree says, it's been vaccinated, doesn't have any problems. You're going to get a fit individual that has good structure and is good with people. But anything other than those basic health and behavior and temperament issues, I'm not going to guarantee anything. I wouldn't do it with a pup or a grown dog. And I did sell some dogs, and I did give some away, and every one of them that I cut loose, I never heard nothing negative about them, whether they turned out or didn't turn out. I never had any negative feedback because I didn't lie to the people in the first place. I didn't present the dog as anything other than what it was. I was honest, and people would come back and tell me, hey, Schoolboy, the dog was exactly how you said it was. Understanding that not every dog is going to turn out. But again, we have that issue that most people ain't going to do nothing with them anyways. They don't care. They just want a pet. And that's where a lot of these pit bulls are going today. They're going into the hands of people that should not have them. Now, I can't tell anybody what to do, and I wouldn't want anybody telling me what to do. But you should have a sense of some responsibility of the product you're putting out and the product of your breeding that you're breeding, because it's going to come back and bite you. And wouldn't you much rather have a good reputation than a bad one? Some people don't care. They really don't. So you have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know, the buyer has to know who he's dealing with, and the breeder, seller has to know who they're dealing with too. Some people, maybe you shouldn't cut your dogs loose to them, even if they're paying you good money. Because if there's a problem, it's going to come back to you. And it's, behooves the general public to understand the breed, to familiarize with it, to research the history, to research all the temperament and behavior issues, good and bad, and everything about them as much as they can before they ever get involved with one pit bull. That's how I did it, because that's the way I am. I want to know everything about something if I'm interested in it before I get it, whether it's a pit bull or it's a vehicle or firearms, whatever it is. That's just the way I am. I'm not telling people what to do, but it'd be a great service to you to do that. At least you're educating yourself as much as you can before you get something that you think you like before the fact. Because once you do your research, you may not want a pit bull because you have other dogs and there's potential for your pit bull to kill your other pets. So maybe the pit bull isn't for you. And I do know responsible breeders like Bakary. He lets his dogs go to certain individuals. It can't be someone who's going to confine their dogs to a sky kennel all day long and not get no exercise and doesn't do anything with them. You know, take them out hunting. A lot of his dogs, hunters use them, you know, whether it's raccoon, coyotes, catch dogs, you know. That's where a lot of his dogs go when he does happen to cut some loose. That's who they go to. People that are going to, you know, give them proper maintenance and care like that. And I think all breeders should do that. Again, I can't tell people what to do, but the advice I'm giving comes from years and years of experience with my own dogs and, you know, knowing other top breeders, how they kept their dogs and what they did with them. That's where the success comes from. That's where the consistency comes from. And that's where your reputation comes from. So this is something that came up. I'm glad Joseph mentioned it and we got into it a little bit. And I told him I'm going to do a video on it. Tell me what you think. I got some more videos coming up. I think I might do a Jeep versus Chinaman video. People might be more interested in that than this one because, you know, they like that kind of stuff. I'm relatively familiar with both of them. So watch for that one coming up. Thanks for your support. All the shares and likes and all that crap that people are supposed to do. Say, I hate to beg people, man, but it's just part of the situation. You know, in my mind, the more people that see my stuff, you know, the more people it has a potential to help. And that's what I'm here for, to help. So thanks again. All your purchases and all that stuff, everything's been going good. I got some more sticks in, and I'm going to do another t-shirt. I think I'm going to do Mountain Man Homer t-shirt in the next couple of weeks. That will come up. And then after that, I'm going to do Tonka. Thanks for that, Billy. And, you know, I'm slow, but I get them out there. Sometimes it takes me a while, but it'll happen. I usually come through. And thank you once again. Feel free to comment. The comments have been good. I try to answer every one. And I like the back and forth. And people put their, you know, when they give their input, a lot of it is, you know, from experience, and it's things that I didn't think about or things that I had forgotten, and they mention it, and I'm glad they do it. We're a community, and everybody helps everybody, at least in my world. So thanks again.